thank you so much for coming by and stopping by for such an important topic of medical freedom. So tell me about what you're doing and what's going on with medical freedom in the state of Virginia.
Well, absolutely. And first of all, I want to thank you, Dr. Steele, for all you are doing regarding medical freedom and giving people options and alternatives. Because so many people are coming to dead ends and they need solutions, holistic solutions and natural solutions. So one of the things that I've been advocating for, really prior to my being in the legislature, is medical freedom for children. And vaccines is one of the things that we naturally look at as parents whenever we're looking at getting childhood vaccinations. And I think that's when every parent starts doing their research and their homework. And I learned everything about the myelin sheath and how certain preservatives can actually destroy the myelin sheath. And so as a parent, now my kids are all grown. This is over 20 years ago when my kids were little. I did a lot of research on even the childhood vaccines. And our family made some decisions early on regarding childhood vaccines. Now we hit the COVID years, and what happens? Across the country, across the world actually, in other countries, they have quick access to ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, but what happens in the United States? It gets shut down. And so I have not only advocated for medical freedom to known homeopathics. In Virginia, we have legalized marijuana. In the last year, and we have mandated a unsafe, unproven vaccine that's been around for less than 2 years. And yet we are denying patients, together with their doctors, ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. So I've introduced legislation. This will be my third year in a row, actually.
Yeah, so, I know you've been out there doing it.
From the very beginning, back when it was not popular to 100%. Talk about alternatives to this vaccine. I've been out there on the front lines from the beginning. I think a lot of that was from all the research I did when my kids were younger. So,
and I think it's really important that patients have a choice, right? So doctors, we spend a long time in school learning all things about science and then being able to practically apply those. And so when we're in the exam room with patients, we're able to address their concerns, we're able to look at their health and physical, we're able to inform them because our basis of care is based off of informed consent. So it's our obligation morally and ethically as providers to educate the patients about what the risks and potential benefits are from any treatment, and then be objective and allow the families to make decisions. And that's really what this is about. Whether you are for or against, whether you choose or not choose, it's a matter of being able to have that choice. And I think that's incredibly important for everybody in Virginia to have that choice, to be able to say, you know what, this works for me or this doesn't work for me. Because I have patients that choose to vaccinate, I have patients that don't. It's not my job as a provider to make that choice. It's my job to educate them about the risks and benefits. So.
One of the obstacles that we've had in the state of Virginia is the former commissioner, Norma Oliver, sent out a letter which was very
aggressive.
Aggressive is a great word for it in nature to the healthcare community, saying do not prescribe ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. If you do, you could potentially lose your license. It was a very chilling effect on medical freedom. And so I worked over the past year talking to Commissioner Colin Green, unfortunately with very little headway. And that's very frustrating because under a new administration, I know Governor Youngkin has said publicly that he supports medical freedom, but medical freedom should extend to beyond just our children. It should extend to adults. We should never have a private employer to mandate 100%. That to keep your job, that you should get a jab that's untested, unproven, and still under emergency order.
And a lot of scrutiny. We don't see it necessarily here in America, but I've seen in the Parliament lots of video testimonials about Pfizer, and nothing against, again, if people want to choose this option because they feel like, you know what, I've weighed out the benefits versus risk, I'm going to take this risk, I'm going to choose this because I have XYZ condition, then that's up to them. But to, again, bring your human resources into the exam room, to bring your legislator into the exam room, to bring all these entities in the exam room, between that very sacred relationship of doctor-patient, that's the real issue. It's, what's the point of us going to school? What's the point of us having all of the information to advise patients if ultimately we've got all of these bedfellows that aren't trained medically, that don't understand risk versus benefit, and sadly a lot of times don't care about the individual that they serve. So I'm so grateful that you care.
Absolutely.
And I know, I've sat in General Assemblies where I'm cringing. I'm like, oh no, rooting but cringing at the same time. And so I really thank you for putting your neck out there, for being that voice of reason, for educating and really standing up for our families. Because I know here at Holistic Family Practice, we are so just passionate about ensuring that all families have medical freedom. And I know a lot of patients come to our practice because of that. So having a legislator up there, fighting for them, I think is going to be so important. So tell us about what you have coming up with the next session.
So we have General Assembly session that begins January the 11th.
Wow.
And we have until the end of February to introduce, present, and pass any legislation that would get passed. So 2 months, 30 days.
Yeah, not a lot.
It's going to be a very short session because we run for re-election the following year. And I would say this, in the Senate, most of this good legislation fails because of the makeup of the Senate. We have 21 Democrats, we have 19 Republicans. And so most of this legislation that we introduce, we do it anyway because we want to educate people. Anytime we're presenting a bill, you're educating the legislators, you're educating the listener, and you make progress that way. So even if I know the number, the makeup of the Senate doesn't look good for me, if it's a bit important bill like I feel medical freedom is, then I still present the bill anyway. Which brings me to my second point. When I run for re-election, I have two primary opponents. The establishment, everybody understands in holistic medicine.
Yes.
You've always got the establishment that comes against you like a vengeance.
Oh, yeah.
They're doing that with me. And I've got a former state senator who has entered the race after redistricting. I'm the incumbent Republican, but I have two other opponents who have entered the race as well. And the establishment, the lobbyists, the PACs, they're getting behind him.
Wow.
So I will, I have to rely on the people. I don't take money from lobbyists and PACs. I represent the people. And so I have to rely on the people to fund my campaign, to send me back. And we have a campaign right now. If 5,000 people would donate $100 a piece, I have all the money I need. And here's the clincher. I have less than 60 days to raise that money. Yeah. January 11th, when I go into session, can't raise money until I come out in late February. So, a little bit of a crunch, a little bit of a deadline, but we, are trying to get the word out to people that we can't sit on the sidelines anymore. No. Maybe you can't be on the front lines like I am right now, but you can fund and support me.
Definitely.
And you know that I'm going to fight, that I'm not going to back down because I have been in the Senate for almost 8 years now. I've always been for medical freedom.
Always, yes.
From the beginning, even from my early days as a mom of 4 young children. And, we have to do everything we can to protect medical freedom. And I'm the only one in the Senate that I know of.
Yes, you are.
That is introducing this type of legislation.
100%. I remember at the advance, I'm going around and talking to people and, the legislators, it's like glazed look, what, huh? And so you have been a huge champion for medical freedom. Again, as long as I've been, dealing in politics, although it's not my...
Me either.
I know, exactly. But we really do want to get behind you and support you. I know I will personally make a donation because medical freedom is so important to me personally and also to my practice. And so that's also why I agreed to sit down with you and talk, because we really want to support you in your efforts of medical freedom. It's so important. Do you have anything else that you'd like to share?
Well, my website people can visit is chaseforsenate.com. And they can make a donation online. Again, it's chaseforsenate.com. Very original.
Yes, I love it. Well, and it makes total sense, right? We're not just chasing you, obviously. We're chasing freedom, medical freedom. And especially over the last couple years, we have seen this cat and mouse game back and forth. I mean, I remember sitting in my boat in April, you know, this was early, like 2020, I think 2020 actually. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't even believe how they're going after the employers. I mean, it was very disheartening.
People who did not want the vaccine were forced to get a vaccine.
Yes.
And that is medical tyranny.
Correct.
It is wrong.
100%.
You know,
of course, because then people are looking at their pensions. They're looking at, okay, it's between me and my pension, or it's between, you know, keeping my job and all of the different dynamics, feeding my family. And it was so under the gun. I mean, it was very, very difficult. So again, thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate your help, your support. I'll also put a link out as well if you want to support medical freedom. And Senator Amanda Chase, we thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you for calling.